I'm Alicia Blanchard with Remax Town & Country in Blairsville, Georgia.
And I'm Elizabeth Birnbaum with Remax Town & Country, also here in Blairsville, Georgia. And this is Porchlight Sessions,
where we shine a light on all things real estate, from getting your home market ready to navigating today's market with confidence.
We are bringing in trusted local contractors, inspectors, lenders, and industry pros to share real experiences, real stories, and real advice.
So whether you're buying, selling, or building, or just like talking houses, pull up a chair.
Welcome to Porchlight Sessions. So before we jump into the topics that we're going to discuss today, tell everybody a little bit about how you started in real estate here in Blairsville.
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm from Blairsville, born and raised here. I went to high school here. Never really left for college. I commuted to college over the mountain and back, so I never really technically left. I have a little bit of a background in healthcare. I worked at a nursing home for about 8 years. I worked in a dentist's office for a couple years. And I also have some retail sales background, but none of that stuff really led me to real estate. They help in the real estate industry, but what led me to real estate is the fact that my husband is a firefighter here in the county. And so if you don't know much about the fire department, they work 24-hour shifts. They are answering calls even when they're not on shift a lot of times. Mm-hmm. He's teaching classes, helping with training. So he's present, but he's gone a lot, right. And we have 3 children. And so I needed a career where I could be present for my children, be the one at home at night, be the one getting them to and from school and to their activities. Right. So real estate was an obvious option for me because of the flexibility.
Right.
I can somewhat make my own schedule for the most part and still be present for my my children and my family.
I'm sure they're all involved in a bunch of sports and everything.
Yes, we're going nonstop with all kinds of activities in this community, which I love because then I get to connect to, their friends and their friends' parents and build those relationships. And just, I also really enjoy sharing this community with others. And so that really connected into real estate also.
Yeah, makes sense.
So what about you, Elizabeth? You're not from around here?
No, I'm sure most people can tell that I am not from around here. Originally, I'm from Miami. So yes, that means I traded traffic for deer and palm trees for mountains.
Okay, so what brought you to Blairsville then?
Well, I spent most of my life in Miami, but I did spend 15 years in Nashville, and me and my family, we moved here in 2019. And the reason we moved here is because my parents moved here about 20 years ago. They retired, and then shortly after, my sister and her family moved up, and they own Dan's Grill Cuban Cuisine.
Oh, yum.
So if you were wondering how a small town like this scored some legit Cuban food, now you know. So before real estate, I worked in the medical field. I managed a few practices and handled a lot of high-stress situations, a lot of doctors, medical assistants, and I was in charge of patient relations. So it helped a lot with real estate because real estate is very stressful. And so, it helps to have that experience, problem solving and helping people. When we sold our home in Nashville and we moved here, we had 2 great experiences with our real estate agent over there and our real estate agent over here.
Right.
And that totally changed my direction as far as career goes. And I quickly learned that I wanted to help other families navigate the same process and help them with something that's so overwhelming, just to be smooth, for them to be excited, because as a transplant, I get it. I can relate to the process, and I want to be an advocate and a guide for my clients and somebody that they can count on that's in their corner. So I may be a Miami girl in the mountains, but I'm all in, and I truly love helping people build their next chapter here. And I love living alongside this community. I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
And I think that's something we both enjoy is building relationships with our clients, becoming friends with our clients. Yep. I have so many friends that I've made through these transactions that I probably wouldn't have met these people otherwise.
Exactly.
It's a fun career to be in and to really connect with other people in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about everything real estate. And since we're right around the corner from spring, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about how we've seen an uptick. I'm sure you've seen it. There's heavier
Yes. Yeah.
traffic as far as showings go. We're getting a lot more phone calls right now. Previous clients and new clients
Hmm.
calling, asking, how do I get my house ready to list?
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, what are your talking points? So when people call you and ask you, how do I get my house ready to list? What are you telling people?
Okay. Yeah. Spring seems to always be the time of year when people really want to list their house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I go to meet a potential client and see their home, and we try to talk through some points on what they need to do to prep their house, we'll discuss interior aspects as well as exterior aspects. Later on, you and I are going to have some guests on here talking about prepping exterior. So
Right.
you and I can focus on maybe the interior
Yeah.
today. So some things that I like to point out on the interior is, of course, cleanliness. You want your home to be clean, just not just the basics of, what you do day in and day out, keeping up with your laundry and dishes. We want to go a little deeper than that. So one big thing is decluttering.
Mhm.
I like to tell potential clients to get the clutter off of their catch-all areas.
Right.
Your closets and your countertops, your bedside table, your dressers, like anything where you're just coming in and dumping. You don't want that to be there when you're showing your home, or even when you're getting it ready for photography, right? So declutter, depersonalize as much as you can. Don't make it cold, but make it to where a buyer can come in and they see a clean slate. They're not looking through all your stuff to try to figure out if their life can fit into this home.
Right.
Okay. So then another thing that I like to point out are some not so obvious areas that need to be cleaned. I like to suggest clean your baseboards. Get down on your hands and knees and clean those
Right.
baseboards. You would be very surprised what buyers point out and look at when you're
Right.
showing a home. Do your ceiling fans, your higher light fixtures, these things, get up on a ladder, get up on a chair,
Mm-hmm.
dust, clean these areas because people will point those
Oh,
out.
yeah.
You may think that someone's, they can look through that. They're not going to not buy my house because it's dirty. You get a lot of feedback like that.
Yeah.
People do not like to see that. Okay. And then something that's very strange maybe to think about is washing your walls. Have you ever washed your walls,
I have
Elizabeth?
never washed my walls.
Yes.
I need to go home and do that.
So, especially if you have textured walls,
Uh-huh.
you can use water and vinegar,
Yep.
or you can just take like a Swiffer duster and dust your walls. You don't technically have to wash them, but that gets that dust that's clung to the walls for all these years, all those cobwebs knocked down, and then you have a fresh slate to touch up your paint.
All the little sticky hands that the kids fling up at the ceiling. I think I have one up there right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, we had 3 in our kitchen for about 6 months. Yeah.
When people have prior repairs, things that people have done on their ceilings, if they've repaired something like they had a leak in the roof or they had something going on where they have some stained spots in their ceiling, it's important to get all of that, not only to do the repair, but to do the work after the repair. So if you
Right.
have some ceiling tiles in your basement that are stained from a prior repair that you did, get those,
Replace those
replace
tiles.
those,
Yeah.
because when people walk through your house, if they're seeing small little things like that, or they're seeing a dirty house, or that you haven't addressed all the little details, they're thinking,
What
what's hiding
else?
behind that?
Exactly. What else?
They don't know that you've already done the work and that you've already repaired it. So if you're going to do a repair, do it all the way,
Yeah.
because you don't want people to see the remnants of that and be wondering what else is hiding behind the walls.
That's a good point.
You know?
I've had a lot of buyers to point out things like that and
Mhm.
say something similar to, well, if they didn't take care of that small thing, what else bigger did they not take care of?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what are some talking points that you like to discuss with potential sellers?
I like to bring up staging and professional photography, because I think up here in Blairsville, North Georgia, Mountain, especially, just this whole area, you've got people coming from everywhere. You've got people coming from a lot from Florida, California, Texas, New York, big cities, I mean, here, even in our own backyard, Atlanta, you've
Right.
got a lot of people coming to this area for secondary homes or moving, retiring. And 95% of buyers are looking first online
That's right.
before they contact an agent. They're looking at your pictures. They're looking at the warmth in your house, the light that comes through. If you don't have professional pictures and staging, that's your first impression. It's actually your first showing.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
You know,
Those pictures are your first showing for a buyer.
exact. Yeah, buyers are shopping in our market, not just for walls, roof, square footage, all that. They're looking for that emotional connection.
Right.
Okay, they're looking to walk in and get that feeling of like, oh, I can live here.
Right.
You know.
That's what professional photography and staging help with, is helping the buyers visualize themselves there.
Yeah.
We're helping tell a story through the staging and through the photography.
Right, exactly. They're envisioning their morning on the porch.
Yeah.
They're envisioning the, coffee with mountain views, the weekend by the creek. And so your listing photos, if they don't capture the views and all of that, they're never going to drive up here. They're not going to come here from Atlanta to come and see your mountain home because they haven't gotten that from the pictures. There's so many homes. I just put a home under contract earlier in January that they barely had 5 viewings in a whole year that they were listed.
Yeah,
And
it
was because
photos?
the pictures weren't conveying everything that the house had to offer. And we walked in to that house and my buyers knew exactly at that moment that this was the house. The house showed so much better in person
Right.
than it did in the pictures.
Yeah. Another point I just thought about is we're talking about staging the home with physical items. So a vacant home, it's a good idea to have it staged.
Yep.
But that can be a little bit difficult to bring in a lot of furniture for a fully vacant home. So another
Right.
option is virtual staging.
Yep.
Have you ever used virtual staging?
I have. There's some of the photographers that we use locally. They offer that as one of their services. So there's apps that do it too, but I know a lot of photographers, they offer that.
Yeah, I've used a photographer also who did that, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
It helped to show how you could set up the living room or a bedroom or an office or something.
And a lot of your clients, they'll probably say, but this is more expensive, doing staging, that all that adds up. The professional photography adds up, drone, all of that stuff adds up. But as we were talking earlier,
Yeah, the seller doesn't have to pay for that, do they?
no, we do all that.
That's something as realtors we offer. That is an investment that we put towards your listing to help you sell your home and put your best foot forward.
Right.
Put your best foot forward. So we will pay for that photography, and we pay for staging or virtual staging, or we will help you through the process of staging. Sometimes you don't have to, really bring in a whole lot of stuff, but that's something we offer
Right.
for you guys.
And I think that's where we both bring value. We're not just putting signs in yards. We're helping people through the process and getting them ready to list their homes, or helping buyers find that right fit.
Yep. I have a pro tip for all of this. Make your home smell nice.
Well, I went recently and showed a house that some people, they made cookies for us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was the
nice.
last home and we were starving. We had already seen like 8 houses and we walked in and there were some fresh baked cookies. My people actually wanted to go and see that house again because that house stood out to them.
They remembered that. Yeah.
Yes. 2 days later, they wanted to go see that house again. And this time they made cinnamon rolls.
Oh, that's nice. That's a little bit above and beyond, but if you can just make your house smell nice,
Yeah.
whether you're baking cookies or
Exactly.
lighting some candles a few hours before, don't leave them lit. But
Yeah. I was like, can we come back later for dinner?
yeah.